The Simpsons is more than a TV show. It's an omnipresent merchandising behemoth, and at this point, a shambling zombie that's been embarrassing shit for years longer than it was ever good. And speaking of embarrassing shit, an expected deluge of truly horrible games based on the phenomenon was released for the 8 and 16-bit consoles, and we're going to take a look at them today. Bart vs. the Space Mutants is our first game, and it hits a home run right off the bat. Look at Marge's dress. That's the wrong colour dress. Watch the show before you make the expensive video game. Anyway, this game is one of the better ones in the list, but that's not saying a whole lot. It's kind of an interesting game. Basically, the premise is you play as Bart Simpson, and these space mutant things have invaded Springfield, and they have this machine that's like some kind of vague death machine. It's not really explained that well, and it's powered with various things. For example, on the first level it's powered with purple objects, and on the second level it's powered with hats. The third level balloons, the fourth exit signs, I'm not making this up, and the fifth it's uranium rods from the nuclear power plant. The first level is actually the most interesting one in the game. It's very ambitious, and for that reason it's difficult to really hate it. Plus, I do have nostalgia for this game. I mean, what I'm playing here is the Master System version, which I grew up playing. The main sort of objective is to get rid of all the purple objects, obviously. So you collect spray paint and colour them red, basically. But that doesn't work for everything. Not everything is accessible that way. So, for example, there's a part where you have to throw a cherry bomb to scare away a purple bird. You have to lure out the groundskeeper by standing on the grass where it says, "Do not stand on the grass." And he'll come along dressed in purple and you spray him. You have to put a coin into the payphone to a prank called Mo, who comes out of Mo's tavern to murder you, and he's also wearing a purple tabard thing, and then you spray that. This first level's ambition is much higher than the rest of the levels. For example, the very next level, when you're collecting the hats, is a very straightforward platform game, and from there on it kind of gets progressively less interesting. Although, this is the weirdest thing, it has horrible play control in that the run button and the jump button are the same button. So, to do like a big jump, you have to press both button 1 and 2 at the same time, but pressing button 2 activates your spray can, which you have limited. You don't have that much paint, so every time you do a super jump you will unload tons of paint. It's very poorly designed. There's no reason why they couldn't have just made the super jump the normal jump and put button 1 as the spray can. It's very odd, and bizarrely this is one of the Simpsons games with the better play control. They are going to get so much fucking worse. This is Escape from Camp Deadly, which is chronologically the next game in the series. I'm going to do this one in order of release. This is on the original Game Boy, as you can probably tell, and honestly, considering what's to come, this one is kind of a highlight. It's not awful, it's not great. It's a pretty basic, functional platform game with a few creative ideas. One of the weapons you get is a boomerang, and of course you throw it, it comes back to you, but there are enemies, for example, who can only be damaged by being hit in the back, so you have to throw the boomerang away from you, leap over their heads, they turn around, and then it strikes them in the back and kills them. Given what's to come, that's actually slightly impressive. This is a competent game, and you get to be a beekeeper, which is always freaking rad. This is Bart vs. the World for the NES. It was also released on the Master System. The premise of this one is that Bart wins a drawing contest on the Krusty the Clown show, and the joke is that his art is shit. But given the graphics of this game, I think it's a bit rich for anyone to be calling anyone's art shit. Basically, it's not a platform, although there are lots of mini-games in there, like there's a Simpsons trivia game, there's sort of a match 3 kind of game, there's a sliding puzzle, you know, the kind that nobody ever wants to do, ever, even outside of video games. Like, if I had a gun to my head, I'd probably do it, actually. The first level takes place in China on a junk, and I got stuck for ages because I didn't know you could climb, and you know what, that's my fault for not reading the manual, but you know, that would require me to legally purchase the game, and that's not going to happen. So I've played worse games than this, although we're really getting to the dregs now. After the China level, you go to, I believe, the North Pole, and there's this underground cave level, which is really difficult. There's a bit later on where you have to bounce off these bubbles that emerge from the water for some reason, or the slime or lava or whatever it's supposed to be. And it's just so demanding. I mean, you can just fall straight through a platform it looks like you've landed on, and it's very annoying and very frustrating. I just can't recommend this one, to be honest. Although I know there are people out there who have nostalgia for this game, but I mean, those people are wrong and probably ugly. Oh, Bart vs. the Juggernauts for the Game Boy. I'm not going to say much about this one. It's not the worst one. It's made up of a series of events, all with different gameplay. The only one that's completely unplayable is there's kind of a shoving game where you have to shove the Juggernaut off the map before you. The controls are nonsense and doesn't make sense. I haven't got any footage of it because I wasn't asked. I'm sorry. I played through the whole fucking game, all of it, from beginning to end, and I forgot to press record, and I'm not doing it again. So here's a bit of the skating minigame. It's not the worst one. The minigames as by themselves play fine, they are functional, but it's the fact that the game keeps making you repeat them and they do not change, they don't get any harder, they're just the same over and over again. I just can't recommend it on the basis of that. Bartman meets Radioactive Man is an NES game, and it is the most bog standard platformer on the system possibly. It's not the worst one, it's not the best one, it's not bad, it's not good, it's just there. It just fills time. You don't register entertainment from it, and you don't necessarily think, I am bored out of my piss. You know, it is okay, but there is no reason on earth why you would play it. There is nothing I can tell you about it that's unique. You play as Bartman, you arse around the environment, and you pick up icons that give you points. You get a power-up that lets you shoot laser eyes. It's not remarkable. There's nothing to say. I apologise that these entries are getting shorter, but these games are getting less and less interesting. Sweet Jesus, what is wrong with this game's music? I mean, that beginning was so promising, but this is like being stabbed. It's like being rhythmically stabbed. It's awful. Barts Nightmare, it's fucking hell. This is a Mega Drive game. There's also an SNES version, but I tend to favour recording the Mega Drive versions because, frankly, the SNES emulator for recording is a ball ache, and I don't want to do it. In this game, Bart loses all his homework out the window, which he actually does, apparently. He does his homework, so already you're out of character. And you have to go into this dream world, walk down the street looking for a piece of homework, jump on it, and then you get to choose a minigame. All of the minigames are completely inscrutable. They make zero sense. They're not even consistent with themselves in places. This Itchy and Scratchy one I'm doing is just... at first it's like you can't help but pretty much game over, because it's like, what do I do? You know, there is no means of adjustment. There's no time to go like, oh shit, do I do this, do I do that? You just get thrown in and you have to just know. So you're pretty much trial and erroring it the first time. This isn't even the worst one. There's this one where you're jumping across platforms in like an Indiana Jones guise, and arbitrarily some of the platforms will just kill you, and as far as I can tell, there's no rhyme or reason to it. I don't understand how you're supposed to get through it, and it's possible I'm missing something, but I don't think I am. I think it's just that ridiculous. There's also this Bloodstream level, which I can actually do because it's sort of a really weird cross between, I don't know, like Gradius and Dig Dug or something, and that one was kind of easy, and it threatened to be interesting because of this bizarre imagery and the sound, the really weird, kind of cool ambient sound. The actual worst thing about the game, though, is the fact that sometimes you can get stuck in that dream world when there's just no piece of paper will appear, so you're just aimlessly walking left and right, jumping over stuff. And it's kind of like, I'm on the clock here, you know, I'm reasonably certain there's a time limit. If you spend too long there, Bart wakes up and it's game over. And you have to do all these minigames to get all of the homework pieces, and they're insane. It's just nuts. There's no... I mean, I get they were going for variety, but geez, I mean, even that Radioactive Man game is better than this by virtue of being familiar, you know? Ugh, I can't stand this. I mean, the Itchy and Scratchy, that level is bad enough, but I can't imagine how shit it would be if they made a full Itchy and Scratchy game. Oh, well, it's better than Bart's Nightmare, but not by much. You play as Itchy, you have to run around these incredibly dull environments and kill Scratchy. There's a lot to explore, and a lot of different weapons and stuff, but there's no need, because all you have to do is kill Scratchy, so you can just kind of stand in one spot, wait for him to run on the screen and hit him until he dies. And it takes ages, because he doesn't hardly take any damage each time you hit him. It's just... oh, it's fucking unbearable. Why would they make this and then market it to children? You know, there's actually a Itchy and Scratchy mini-golf game on the Game Boy, which I'm not going to cover, because why would you make an Itchy and Scratchy mini-golf game? Why would you do it? Why would you get that license and go, hey, Itchy and Scratchy, well, what should we do with that then? I know, let's make miniature golf. What? Krusty Super Funhouse. Now this This is like a cool oasis after a desert of just agony. This game is actually kind of good. It's not amazing, it's not gonna blow minds, but it's kind of legit. It's like B tier, it's a solid platformer for the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, whatever you get it for. It's fun. What you have to do is, you play as Krusty the Clown, obviously, and you have to lure these rats into like a crushing machine that's manned by either Bart or Homer or whoever, it depends on which level it is. So there's kind of puzzle element. You move around, you pick up blocks and you drop them and the rats will walk over them, and pretty much the whole game is based around manipulating blocks and manipulating these rats around. But at the same time there's kind of a platforming element too, because you have to hop around to get where you got to go. There are secret hidden items, you collect custard pies and like cannonballs that break walls. It's legit, it's pretty good. I mean, the play control is astonishing for a Simpsons game because it feels okay. You press jump and you jump right, and you can control your character. It's easily the best game of this lot. It is the highlight without question. It batters all these other games into absolute submission. It doesn't have the nostalgic value that Space Mutants does for me, but it's objectively a better game. I actually recommend giving this one a go if you like platform puzzle games, like, say, I don't know, Lost Vikings or Blackthorn, anything like that. Give it a go. It's fun.
Virtual Bart!
This is Virtual Bart, the sequel to Barts Nightmare, which opens with Bart casually strolling past his dead father's severed head in a jar. So, I don't know, where do we go from here? Anyway, Bart gets strapped into this virtual reality experiment, and you pick a minigame. Well, not really pick, it's completely random, really, which one you land on. So it's got a similar structure to Bart's Nightmare in the minigame thing. But, okay, this game sucks, but it doesn't suck as hard as Bart's Nightmare, because the minigames, by and large, are more scrutable, with a couple of exceptions. Like, the one I did first was this one where Bart kind of becomes a dinosaur, and like, it wasn't good, but I could control it, I knew what to do, you know, it was okay. It gets ridiculously hard at the end with the frozen platforms. It's utterly absurd. I can't really communicate correctly with this video just how hard it is to control that bit, but as you can see, I die a bunch. There's also this game where you throw tomatoes, which I couldn't get a handle on at all. It was really difficult. I assumed nailing the principle was how you won, but apparently not. That ends the game, so that's kind of weird. He's really hard to hit as well, so you'd think they would do something different with that. Kind of gave up where I got to this level where you're playing as a pig, because I felt like I was going around in circles, and like, again, I could control the pig, so it wasn't as bad as Bart's Nightmare, where you're just hammering all the buttons like, what do I do, what's my goal, where do I go? In this, I figure I've got to rescue all these pigs, you know? And also I thought it was kind of funny because it has this cutscene where it's implied that this guy is going to skullfuck Bart Simpson. Sorry. And so we come to the last one of this video, Bart and the Beanstalk. Now, this is just desperate. This is really poor game. It's just a bog standard platform game, and the first level is just you climbing up and up and up this piss-soaked beanstalk, and I don't want to do it, you know? I keep climbing up, I get hit, I fall all the way down to the bottom again, and you have to start from there, and I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And also, it doesn't even emulate properly, and the music's all shot to fuck, so I had to record a video on my phone of it. Oh, this game's fucking... Jeez, I can't even do it with one hand, I gotta put it down. No, you arse... This game is my balls! And that's the 8 16-bit Simpsons games, and they're just a bunch of shit, basically, and it's saddening, you know? Franchise and Lows, I'm trying to cover licensed games looking at them objectively, because there is this conception of licensed games that they're all bollocks, and they always were, but it isn't true. It's not true. There were games that took the license and gave it love, or took the license, ignored it, and made an excellent game and then just slapped the characters in it. And, like, none of these games do that. The closest they get is Krusty's Funhouse, because that doesn't need to be a Krusty game. It would be completely average fun if it was starring anyone. It just happens to be the best Simpsons game because they stuck a Simpsons character in there. And to this date, like, almost all the Simpsons games are just terrible. I mean, there was the Simpsons Hit and Run on, like, GameCube, and I enjoyed that, but it was still a subpar clone of Grand Theft Auto. And it's disappointing, because I was hoping in revisiting these Simpsons games I would find some evidence of the inspiration that went into those first 8 or 9 years of The Simpsons. I mean, the time these games came out, that show was amazing, it was blistering, it was on fire, there were no bad episodes, and they were just churning out these horseshit garbage video games that nobody in their right mind would want to play. For the next episode of Franchise and Lows, I'm going to cover a series of excellent games instead, so look forward to that. Ay fucking caramba.